What's going on, family? Welcome back to another video. Super excited for this video. Honestly, this is going to be the video where we set down a lot of foundation, right? A lot of foundation in the sense that by the title, right, your mindset is honestly your greatest weapon, right? And what I mean by this is that, right, your mind can be your greatest tool, right? Your greatest asset. What is an asset? An asset is something that either increases your value, increases in value, or helps you gain more value, right? So when you have a real estate property, right, a rental property, that is considered an asset because what is it doing? It's raising your value, right? Raising your net worth, but it's also bringing you income. So your mindset, right, depending on how you use your mindset, it can be something that can raise your value. It can be something that can bring more value to you. And at the same time, if you don't use your mindset for constructive purposes, it can be something that can honestly harm you, right? But we're going to talk about that in the next video. All right. A really good book that I recommend to anybody is The Power of Believing, right? And The Power of Positive Thinking. That's actually two books. And in those two books, they talk about what your mind focus on tends to have the equivalent of making it become reality, right? It has the ability and the tendency to create the physical manifestation of what you hold into your mind, right? What the mind can conceive, the mind can achieve if the mind is willing to believe, right? That's the thing. A lot of times, right, people, they set their sights on something. They set their sights on a goal, on a mission, on a position, on something, right? Some kind of goal. But what happens is that they don't believe it, right? They don't believe it. So when you don't believe it, your mind starts tricking you and your mind starts showing you all of the things, right, that can become a hindrance, that can become an obstacle from you achieving that goal, right? And the reason why that happens is because our mind, through evolution, it has grown to develop the tendency to focus on the negative, focus on the bad things, the bad outcomes. Why do you think so many people, they go home and they turn on the news? Why do you think so many people are in love with dramatic, even horror films and shows that might not necessarily be teaching them a lesson, but it's very gripping, right? It's very enticing, right? And the reason why is because drama, horror, gore, all of these things, right, in certain contexts, you can say they are negative, but we are attracted to it because through evolution, we had to focus on the negative. We had to focus on where were the predators at. We had to focus on what was the poison berries, the poison leaves, the poison things, or the dangers in our environment, right? The things that were dangerous in our environment that could pose a risk to our survival. So through time, we became accustomed to focusing on the negatives, right? And I want anybody here listening to understand where attention goes, energy flows. So if you're just focusing on a lot of negative things, what happens is that you're putting a lot of energy into it, and by an unfortunate result, you're bringing a lot of negativity to you. You're bringing a lot of more negative, more things that might not be fruitful to your well-being into your life unintentionally. So that's why your mind is your most powerful weapon, because if you focus on nothing but negative things, you're going to see nothing but negative things, but you're also going to attract nothing but negative as well. But now if you shift your mindset and you shift it to things that are more constructive purposes, things that are more positive, right? You start looking at the silver lining. You actually start going out your way to find the silver lining in situations, right? You start going out your way to find the positive things or the lesson that can be taught in those certain situations. What happens is that your mind starts not only seeing more positive things, but through the law of vibration, right? Through the law of attraction, you start attracting more positive things, more positive outcomes into your life unintentionally. The same way that you were attracting them, right, when you were thinking negatively, right? We all know those negative Nancys, right, in our family. Whenever we come around, we can have the positive thing going on, right? We could be talking about, oh, yo, we just started this YouTube channel. We could talk about, oh, yo, we just got this promotion. Oh, yo, we just got this car. And here comes negative Nancy saying, oh, you doing YouTube? Man, you never gonna blow up in that. Oh, you doing YouTube? Oh, you just trying to be another influencer or content creator, right? Oh, you got a new car. You know them payments are crazy high. You know that gas is gonna be, it's gonna burn through your pockets. Oh, you got a new position. Oh, you know that there's just going to be more stressful. You know that they don't really care about us at the job. All of these negative things that when we really talk about it, are they bettering you? Are they helping you? Are they putting you in a better mindset or a more pessimistic mindset, right? An optimistic is a person who, even when things get hard, even when things might look like, it's a cloudy day, they look at the silver lining. They look for the sunlight or the sunshine within those clouds. A pessimistic person, it could be mad sunny outside and they'll find a way, right, for the sun to be a bad thing. Oh man, it's too hot. Oh man, why is the sun always beaming? It's like, yo, would you rather, some people like that, sometimes you can't make them happy. So what you need to do is that you need to start protecting your mind. You need to literally start walking around the world with a helmet on to protect your mindset, to protect what goes in your ears, to protect what your eyes see. Because our diet is not what we just put in our mouth. Our diet is literally what we listen to, what we see, what we consume on a daily basis. So if you're hanging around a lot of negative Nancys, a lot of negative people, or you're in a work environment where you work with customers or you work with coworkers that are very negative, right? It's going to be even harder for you to block out that negativity because you're getting bombarded by it from so many different directions, so many different angles, right? So the best way is to consciously put a guardrail over your mind to block out the negativity. If you can move yourself from that environment, take yourself out of that environment. If you could get another job that's paying you the same amount, if not more, and it's in a more positive environment, I highly recommend doing that. If it's a family member who's negative, and it seems like every single time I talk on the phone, it's just something negative. There's nothing positive for them to say. It's nothing that's gonna uplift your spirit or to help you grow. You need to tell that family member, hey, listen, I love you, I appreciate you, but I need to distance myself from you because the way your mindset is not conducive to my growth. And that might be a tough conversation. But guess what? Sometimes the toughest conversations are the conversations that you need to have. Sometimes the conversation that you might not feel like having, that's the exact kind of conversation that you need. Or that's the exact conversation that they need. Because you might not realize that negative Nancy, they might be thinking in their mind, damn, I'm always negative. Damn, why don't people want to hang out with me? Damn, why do all my friendships seem like so shallow, right? So superficial because they don't want to hang out with me too long because I started speaking negative. And by you just addressing that, by you just telling them like, yo, like, why you always seem to be a deadbeat downer, that might be the wake-up call that they need. Like, oh, wow, I've been thinking like this, but other people see it as well. That might be what they need, right? That might be what they need. And just by shifting your perspective, now you start seeing positive things. You start seeing more opportunities that were always there, but you missed them because you was focused on the negative for so long. You see what I'm saying? I heard this quote one time. It said, the mind can make a hell out of heaven, or it can make a heaven out of hell. So it doesn't necessarily matter where you are exactly. It really matters on, are you looking at the fruits, or are you looking at just the soil, right? Are you looking at all the work that you need to put in, or are you looking at the fruits, right, and all the rewards that you'll be able to reap once you put the work in? You see what I'm saying? Literally, right? I can give you another situation. Somebody, they could be at the gym, right, trying to bench press 225, right? I'll just give it an example because I just got back from the gym. Easiest thing for me to think about right now. They're trying to bench 225, and then they failed. The bar gets stuck. Now, a regular person, they might be like, oh man, I'm not strong enough. Oh man, I can't get to 225, right? I got to like 185, 190, but when I get to 225, I'm just hitting against that wall. That could be the negative way of thinking about it. But then another person, they could be like, 225, that's where I'm at right now? Okay, bet. Now it's a challenge for me to work my way up to 225. You see what I'm saying? Same exact situation, but just the way you have your perspective about the situation can become more constructive or deconstructive depending on how you're viewing it. All right, and that's why your mind is your most powerful tool. It's the only thing somebody cannot take away from you. They could take away your clothes. They could take away your arms and feet. They could take away your freedom. They could take your money, your status, your height, your good looks, but they can never take away your mind. They can never take away your mind. Even if in the unfortunate event, right, something does happen to you, right, and they try to reprogram you forcefully, they still can never completely change your mind. That's why they pay millions, if not billions of dollars to marketing companies, right, to have influence over people because they know the mindset, right? They know if you control somebody's mind, you basically have full grasp and control over them. You don't need to put somebody in physical chains anymore. As long as you have a chain over their mind, that person will follow you till the end of time, until their dying day. That's why you have to protect your mindset. You have to protect what comes into your ears, what your eyes see, what you consume, because all of that affects you, right? All of that affects you, from the shows you watch, to the books you read, to the music you listen to the podcasts you tune into. If you notice a person who's very positive, listen to what they listen to, right? Or listen to what they read, or check out what they read. Let me say that again. If you notice somebody who's very positive, right, just ask them. Look at their phone. What do they watch on YouTube? Ask them, do they read books? What kind of books do they read, right? And I'll tell you this now, it's probably going to be harder for you to find somebody who's positive than it is to find somebody who's negative, because most people are negative by nature. And the reason why is because we had to develop that as a protective mechanism for ourselves. So it's a lot easier to be negative than it is to be positive. So it might be hard to find these positive people in your life. It might be hard to find people who have the right mindset. But guess what? Just because it's hard to find them doesn't mean that you can't become one of them. It just takes time, it takes consistency, and it takes conscious effort. Whenever those negative thoughts come into your mind, it takes conscious effort to switch that, to be like, whoa, I'm thinking negative. Let me stop. Let me look at the bright side. Let me look at the positive in this situation, right? And you don't even have to be, somebody who's unrealistic to be positive. You could just be neutral. I'm not even telling you to be super positive. I'm just telling you to not be negative. Because the moment you're able to be positive or neutral in every situation, that's when you start seeing the opportunities. That's when you start seeing the seed for success in any situation, even if it's a situation that might seem like a setback. If you ask a lot of people who are positive, a lot of people who are successful, a lot of things that made them successful came right after they had a major setback. But guess what? If they were being negative and they let that setback hold them down, or they let that setback deter them, then they would never be where they're at right now. They learned from that setback. They seen the silver lining in that setback. They were able to have a positive perspective even when they had that setback, and they used it as fuel to push them forward. So, in recap, your mind is your most powerful tool. Either you control it or it will control you. Let me repeat that again. Either you control your mindset or your mindset will control you. We're all being conditioned. We're all being conditioned regardless, right? Regardless if you don't go on social media, regardless if you don't watch the news, regardless if you don't hang out with a lot of people, we're all being conditioned one way, shape, or form. But now you have to take conscious effort and play an active part in your own conditioning by feeding your mind with positive things, by blocking out the negativity, by protecting your mind from these outworldly things, right, that are doing nothing but coming into your life to damage it or to harm it, right? There's a quote in the Bible, right? Don't have the verse specifically here, but it says, "Do not conform to the ways of the world, but find enjoyment in the renewal of your mind." Matter of fact, let me find that. Let me find the verse exactly. Okay, there's a Bible verse. I wanted to find it specifically, right? And I want y'all to know this. I'm only referencing back to the Bible for context, right? For people to understand that even back in the day, right? Even thousands of years ago, these are things that they knew and understood. And this is how they were able to live their life and how we got to where we are now. It says, "Do not conform to the patterns of this world, but be transformed by the renewing of your mind. Then you will be able to test and prove what God's will is, his good, pleasing, and perfect will." So the very first part, it says, "Do not conform to the patterns of this world, but be transformed by the renewing of your mind." So what does that mean? Do not conform to the patterns of this world. So do not let the outside influences of this world come into your mind, come into your heart, and taint it with negativity and toxicity, right? Because what that does is that just makes you go out and create more negativity, bring more toxicity into you. But be transformed by the renewing of your mind. And what that means is that God already knows the universe, right? The divine creator, right? The heavenly spirit, right? Whether you believe in God, Allah, right? Jehovah, he already knows you're going to come into this world very negative, very pessimistic. He already knows you're going to come into this world and you're going to have to be challenged by all this negativity and all these things around you. But he says, do not let them conform you. Do not let them program you, but be transformed, be changed by the renewing of your mind. Meaning, as you start reprogramming yourself, by you start feeding yourself more positivity, more good things, that's when your mindset start changing, start shifting. And it doesn't happen overnight, right? You can't fake the funk. You can't be a negative Nancy one day and then wake up and be a positive Peter, right? It takes time. It takes time, but through conscious effort, through discipline and consistency and constantly doing it, that's when you start seeing your mindset start shifting, right? That's when you start having that paradigm shift. Right? That's when you start seeing the positive in situations. And before you know it, even negative situation that might look completely negative, that's when you start being able to see the seed of equivalent success, right? And I could even give you an example right now. Remember that job that you lost, but guess what? Now you're at a better job. Remember that relationship that didn't work out, but guess what? Now you're going to the gym. Guess what? Now you're more consistent. Guess what? Now you're more disciplined. Guess what? Now you're with an even better girlfriend or better boyfriend, right? Remember that car that got totaled? But guess what? Now you're in a better car. Now you know how car insurances work. Buy the laptop, right? And your credit got declined, right? You got denied. But I bet you learned about credit after that. So a lot of things that happen to us, they're not really happening to us. They're happening for us, for our own growth, for us to learn some kind of lesson. Trust me when I say, things don't happen to you, they're happening for you. They're happening for a reason. It's either a blessing or a lesson. And I promise you, 9 times out of 10, it's probably a blessing, right? And with that being said, right, thank you for tuning into this episode. Check out the next episode. I'm gonna be putting it somewhere here on this on this. I don't know, I'm still figuring out this YouTube thing out. Bear with me, right? But it's gonna be somewhere here. Next episode, we're going to be talking about how your mind can also be your greatest enemy. And with that being said, till the next episode, I'm out.